We begin with the wild scene in Chicago tonight. Donald Trump canceled a rally there. After the announcement, supporters clashed with protesters at the University of Illinois, Chicago. It happened on a campus that's considered one of the most ethnically diverse in the country. Andy Roseden was inside the arena when it all happened. Andy, things calmed down over the past couple of hours, but there were some frightening moments.
There were, Antonio. You know, when this rally was announced a week ago, a lot of people on this very liberal campus in this very liberal city demanded that the event be canceled immediately. But a lot of people, a lot of opponents wanted it to go on so they could make a very public showing of it being shut down. And tonight, they got their wish. While people protesting against Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump lined the sidewalks outside the University of Illinois at Chicago Pavilion, it didn't take long for things to get heated inside. The crowd appeared to be split about 60% Trump supporters and 40% opponents. But just as the rally was supposed to start, the Trump campaign canceled it.
After meeting with law enforcement, has determined that for the safety of all the tens of thousands of people that have gathered in and around the arena, tonight's rally will be postponed until another day. Thank you very much for your attendance, and please go in peace.
That didn't happen. Protesters and Trump supporters exchanged angry words. Fights broke out. A man tried to take the stage. After a struggle, security officers removed him. A large contingent of police eventually came in and cleared the arena, but the battles moved outside. Some of the thousands who were inside the arena clashed with some of the thousands of people outside and with police. In an interview with MSNBC, Trump said he made the right decision to cancel, but said the anger wasn't directed at him.
You have people that are very, very, upset about what's happening with the country as a country, and you have other people that just don't feel right about things. I mean, those people were outside; they were coming inside, and rather than having everybody get in and mix it up, I thought it would be a wise thing.
Protesters gathered outside the arena long before the event. Dozens of faculty and staff at the University of Illinois at Chicago had petitioned school administrators to cancel the rally. They were concerned that it would create a hostile and physically dangerous environment for students. When it was all over, Trump supporters were disappointed. Opponents were elated.
I think it's a beautiful thing. That type of hate speech and rhetoric has no place in a city like Chicago.
It was disappointing. I wish he would have came and supported us. But you know what? In the end of the day, I'm still voting for Trump. Nothing has changed.
Well, Trump supporters left the arena just really in stunned silence, while opponents were cheering this as a huge victory. But we should mention, too, that Trump said tonight that his campaign said that Trump himself met with members of law enforcement and determined that it was not safe to go on. He actually never even showed up to the pavilion here. However, the police department spokesman told me tonight that did not happen. He said Trump never consulted with law enforcement, nor did his campaign, that they apparently made the decision on their own to cancel this, and that police say from their perspective it was looking safe. Antonio?
All right, Andy Roseden in Chicago, thank you. And joining us now is Sorority Mullah, an activist who was outside the pavilion tonight when protests broke out. Soror, the protests outside were peaceful until people started pouring out of the arena. What happened?
Yeah, it was, we kind of didn't know actually at first what exactly was going on because we were kind of doing the protesting. It was really loud, but people started coming out. We started realizing that that he had canceled it. And soon enough, after a little while, then it started to get a little bit more escalated because obviously then people were on the other side shouting back. We were protesting and making chants. But for the most part, it was still decent, at the time that happened.
Yeah, there were moments inside, though, that really weren't decent. There were punches thrown, and it got pretty ugly. This was the objective all along, to go into that arena and stop Trump from speaking?
Yeah, I don't want to speak on behalf of the organizers. I came myself as just someone who was very passionate, who works within my community, within a lot of different communities, and just felt like we can't just stand by anymore. I just couldn't stand by. I needed to come to be a part of this. So Personally, for me, the goal was, yes, to stop him. I mean, being in Chicago, as diverse it is, being at UIC, which you mentioned earlier, is such a diverse university, it's not okay. It's not okay in my America, in this America, in our America, for this to happen. So,
but aren't you concerned that, isn't it enough to be out there protesting? You were getting coverage. There were reporters out there showing the protest. There were helicopters showing the people outside protesting peacefully. Aren't you concerned that by protesting intolerance, which is what you want to do, aren't you being intolerant yourselves by not letting him even speak?
So we were definitely not protesting intolerance. I mean, everything that we were doing was in a very peaceful manner. He, of course, has his right to speak, but keep in mind, he's the one who chose not to come. He's the one who chose not to speak. And he had that choice, and he made that choice. So while we were outside...
But you know that a lot of his rallies are being disrupted badly, and it became clear that this one was going to, was never going to get off the ground. And people do seem to be saying that he made the right choice by not going.
I mean, I think the right choice would have been to not come. I mean, I think he has a right to speak the way he wants to speak. I think he has a right, just like anybody has a right, honestly, to utilize our First Amendment rights. I think nobody ever wants anything to escalate into violence, whether you're protesting or whether you're on his side. Nobody ever wants that violence.
But at a college, no matter how ethnically diverse, don't you want to hear different voices? And aren't you concerned that this will stop other people from coming to speak at the University of Illinois Chicago?
You know what? I do want to hear diverse opinions, but I don't want to hear ones that are full of hatred and bigotry, ones that incite violence. Let's talk about violence. Let's talk about all the rallies that have been going on and the guy who just got sucker punched. Let's talk about that violence. What about all the violences he incites at his rallies? We want to talk about the violence that happened here that was getting escalated, but he's a part of the reason why violence surrounds him. He encourages it. Every time someone gets taken out of a rally, he makes some sort of condescending remark about it and makes fun or kind of rallies everybody up in there. So yeah. I think we need to hold him responsible as well for all that hatred and bigotry that he spews and the results that come out of it. And
we will talk about that more in a minute. Sorority Mullah, thank you for taking the time for us tonight.
Thank you.
The canceled rally is now campaign fodder for Trump's rivals. Ted Cruz put the blame for tonight's events squarely in the Trump camp.
But I think a campaign bears responsibility for creating an environment when the candidate urges supporters to engage in physical violence, to punch people in the face. The predictable consequence of that is that it escalates, and today is unlikely to be the last such instance.
Cruz made the statement before attending a dinner in Chicago's northwestern suburbs. Joining us now from Los Angeles is Bill Schneider. He's a visiting professor at UCLA's School of Communications and a long-time observer of the American political process. And Bill, it is not a great night for American democracy. Let's start with Trump. How much responsibility does he deserve for the atmosphere that led to this?
He sets the tone of the campaign when it comes to his campaign, and the tone of that campaign was divisive, it was aggressive, it was nasty. You can't hold him responsible specifically for these protests. He didn't order them, but the fact is that he did set a divisive tone for this campaign, and a lot of people are rethinking what he might mean if he ever became president.
What about the question I just asked Soror about whether this is something that is just not a good idea? If you are arguing that Trump is intolerant, then how can you then be intolerant and not let him speak?
That's a very good point, and there's likely to be a reaction around the country, particularly among Trump supporters and some others, a backlash against those protests. It was a very ugly scene on television. Every time you see an incident like that, there's bound to be some sort of backlash, and in the short term, that could help Donald Trump. But in the long term, I think the conclusion that a lot of voters are going to reach inside and outside the Republican Party is very simple. Trump is trouble.
On the other hand, though, as you were saying, couldn't this be self-defeating for protesters? Because it does seem like it's feeding red meat to Trump voters who are already angry for their own reasons. And, you can argue them or not, but they are angry about what's going on in this country. And will this not just feed that anger even more?
Yes, it could very well do that. Protests like this have been known to do that in the past. Look at what happened in Chicago in 1968. That was really the defeat of the Democratic Party. There often are backlashes, but they want to make it clear that what Trump is doing will not be tolerated, that he means trouble. And the larger point they're trying to communicate is if this man is elected, or even if he's nominated, there's going to be a lot of trouble out there on the political campaign.
As someone with very strong ties to Chicago and who lived there for a long time, I've got to say it was certainly disappointing to see how ugly it got there. How worried are you about this polarization and what this could mean for the country?
Well, polarization has been going on for a long time, but now it's broken out into the streets. This looks like a conflict between the old America, which Trump represents, older, a lot of white working class men who believe that they've lost their country, that the country is slipping away. They hate the idea of political correctness. And the new Americas, which is what much of the protests represent. Immigrants, ethnic minorities, racial minorities, working women, a lot of people who feel that they are not part of the establishment and they are angry about what's happening. Both sides are very angry. And when it comes to a scene like this, it really means the old America and the new America are coming to blows.
The Sanders campaign tweeted tonight about this, and it said that they do things differently in their campaign. A lot of the people who were in that room were chanting Bernie, seemed to be Bernie Sanders supporters. Is it important for people like Sanders to tell his supporters this is not a good idea?
Yes. It certainly is. I don't think he was in any way responsible for this, or at least there's no indication of that. I think he has to condemn this kind of activity, if only because it's counterproductive and it doesn't really make his campaign look very good if these are all Sanders supporters.
Again, not a great night for democracy in the United States tonight. Bill Schneider, always good to have your perspective on all this. Thank you.